T also. Okay. Okay, good morning, everyone. Sorry for the late start. Uh, Chodesh Tov, Chanukah Sameach, Chag Chanukah, the Kodesh. We tell the languages there. Um, so we are on Daf Lamed Daled, Amid Aleph, 34a on top. We were discussing different different ways. We're trying to prove that according to different Tanoim, how we know that that how we know that by Shavuos Eidos, when you have witnesses that come to that someone wants witnesses to testify on his behalf, and if they are proven, they say they don't have testimony and they're proven false, and they do in fact have testimony, they admit it, they would bring a korban. They would have to bring a korban offering, korban olivir. But it only applies in a case when there's some sort of a monetary, in a case where there's monetary gain potentially. They want to testify about something monetary. There's mammon involved, tfias mammon, potential money involved. So we had different opinions. Reb Shimon was the last one we had looked at. And Reb Shimon had said that he made a kal v'chomer, and he made a comparison in Mamatzino from Pikadon, from a case where a person takes an oath, once a person takes an oath that he is holding on to his loan that he lent them, or he has a deposit or whatever. Just like over there, it's only talking about a monetary case. So to here, it's only talking about a monetary case by Shavuos Eidos, when you have witnesses that you want to come testify for you. So then we ask, that's the comparison from Shavuos Bikadon, oath taken by a Bikadon deposit, loan, etc., that someone's holding on to Shavuos Eidos, by a Shua, an oath that someone wants witnesses to come and take for on his behalf. So that was the comparison. The Gemara is going to ask and say that there's actually an issue. You can't make a direct comparison between the two. Now, let's read it inside. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines down. Second word in. First one line is mamon. Second word in. Mal bikadon shekein lo asa ba mushba kanishba. That by bikadon is different than Shavuos Eidos, Shavuos HaPikadon, because by Pikadon, Shavuos Pikadon, lo asa mushba kanishba, that when others make you swear, it's not the same as Aidei Acherim, Aidei Atzmo, that when others are the ones who are initiating the oath, it's not equal to the case where you initiate yourself. We're going to not explain this too much because the Gemara is going to get to it later. There are a number of opinions. There's different opinions in this, and we're going to discuss it later. We'll probably have to wait till Sunday, which is our next meeting. But this line is complicated, as you can see in Rashi. Rashi says, later on, we'll explain all of it. Rashi says it all. It's complicated, so we'll just read it as is, and when we get to the next line, we'll have a little bit of an inkling, and then we'll explain it more on the next Amud. That Shavuos Eidos and Shavuos Bikadon are not the same in terms of when whether it's you or her initiating the oath or somebody else's, or whether you swore intentionally, falsely, or unintentionally, as opposed to, we'll hold on to those words so far, as opposed to Tomer be'edus by Shavuos Eidos, when you want witnesses to come and testify on your behalf, that we hold that whether it's whether it's you who are initiating the oath, that you as witnesses are initiating the oath that you don't have testimony, or the person who wants the testimony is initiating the witnesses to say the testimony, whether the witnesses swear falsely, they don't have testimony, or they do it unintentionally, both of them are the same. So there's a difference between Eidos and Bikadon. By Shavuos Eidos and Shavuos Bikadon. Shavuos Bikadon and Shavuos Eidos, we're trying to compare the two, and yet we see their differences. So how can you compare the two? Talmud Lomar, Techta Techta. It says the pasuk Techta by both of them, by both cases, and by both Shavuos Eidos and Shavuos Bikadon. L'gzera Shava. Make a comparison. Nemer Kan Techta. It says by by Shavuos Eidos, it says Nefesh Ki Sechta, he sins. Nemer Lahalon, and it says by Shavuos Bikadon, it says same thing. Nefesh Ki Sechta Mal Mal. Mal Hala Ein Medaber El B'Tfias Mamon. Afkan Ein Medaber El B'Tfias Mamon. Both cases are talking about Tfias Mamon. Are talking about Mamon. So at the end of the day, from Rabbi Shimon, how do we know? How do we know that? How do we know that Shavuos Eidos, that when Eidim swear they don't have testimony on your behalf, take an oath, they don't have testimony on your behalf, that how do we know that it only makes you make a carbon if they're swearing falsely, if only if it revolves around money, the case, is it Tfias Mamon? That is, it's from the comparison to Shavuos Bikadon. Just like the oath that one wants someone to take regarding Bikadon, or deposit or loan, so too here too. Only revolves around money. Okay. So that is the end of Reb Shimon's proof. A little bit, I would say, wordy, detailed, not wordy. Okay, so now we're going to go to the next step in the Gemara, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 lines down. Maskiv. The next step in the Gemara, is going back to the proofs. We had each of the Tanoim gave their reason, why, their unique reasons why, how they know Shavuos Eidos only applies, for instance, here, only applies the case of Tfias Mamon, where there's a monetary case. The only time that witnesses who swear they don't have testimony for you, that they are liable for a korban, is if the case involves money. Tfias Mamon, a claim of money. So the first one was the first person we spoke was Rabbi Eliezer. So we're gonna ask, this next step in the Gemara is going to talk further about Rabbi Eliezer. So Maskivla Rabba Bar Ula. Rabba Bar Ula asks, it says, the bitoy. Bitoy yochiach. Shein Owen, because it says by Shavuos bitoy. We'll stop there to explain, because it's going to be too much otherwise. Rabbi Eliezer's whole proof was that it uses multiple times. It says says the word several times in the pasuk with regard to Shavuos Bikadon and also by Shavuos Eidos. Since it says by the two of them, we can compare them. We try to make a comparison also to a Rotzeach, someone who kills, but there we said there's no Shua, and we also said by Sota, even though there is a Shua, but it involves a Kohen. So now we're bringing down a case where it doesn't have it says involves a Shua, an oath, and doesn't have a Kohen. So let's read it. Maskular Rabba Bar Ula, bitoy yochichon. By bitoy, bitoy, as Rashi says, nefesh kisishba lavate l'rala atev. When a person takes a shua as bitoy to do or not do something, remember that was the initial shua that we spoke about in the Sefta. By that case, we said, it's a case where there's a shua, and it says by the pasuk. It says nefesh kisishba. And yet, Shehain Owen, V'yeshiman Shvua, it has an oath, you take an oath by that. V'eni Mam Kohen, there's no Kohen making the oath, it's just the person himself making the oath. Medabrim Shalo B'Tfias Mamon, and there's no claim of money in that. So why are we comparing Shavuos Eidos to Bikadon with the oaths? We should compare Shavuos Eidos to Shavuos Bitoy with the oaths. Shavuos Bitoy does not have any claim of money. You're just saying, he takes an oath that he will eat something, he won't eat something, he will do something, he won't do something. Why are we comparing Eidos to Pikadon? We should compare it to Bitoy, Shavuos Bitoy. Says the Gemara. Second. We're not up to that yet. Okay. So why not? So the Gemara answers, Mistavra mipikadon havalei lamela. It's more logical that we would learn the comparison of Shavuos Eidos to Shavuos Pikadon, and learn it out from Pikadon. Because by both the pasuk by Shavuos Pikadon and Shavuos Eidos, it used the word sechta, as we said before. So it's a more logical choice to compare them. And we're asked, so Adarabba, just the opposite. We should learn it out from Bitoy, Shavuos Bitoy. I will eat, I won't eat. To Shavuos Eidos, Shekein chatas, because both a Shavuos Bitoy, if you swear accidentally, falsely, b'shogeg, that you will or won't do something, etc., the punishment is that you have to bring a korban chatas, you bring all the yored, bring a sin offering. And by Shavuos ha'edus, if you take a oath, you take an oath, you don't have testimony on somebody's behalf, accidentally, you really did, you also bring a chatas, also bring a sin offering, as opposed to pikadon, where if you do it accidentally, bring a korban asham, a different type of korban. So it says chatas chatas. Both cases bring chatas by them. As Rashi says, edos ubitoy, by Shavuos edos, and Shavuos bitoy, the chatas. You're liable for chatas if you do them accidentally. Aval Shavuos hapikadon asham. Shavuos pikadon asham, different korban. It's more likely that you would compare them, Shavuos edos to Shavuos hapikadon, to Shavuos, to bitoy rather than Shavuos pikadon. Ella, Gemara continues, Ella mistavram b'pikadon havalan melach. It makes more sense. They learn it out from pikadon. Shekain, it's going to give a listing here of 5 things that make the comparison between pikadon and edus more logical. Shekain chet, the mezid, tfiya v'kfira, v'avrei. Those 5 things. Well, let's explain them all. There are 5 things that pikadon, Shavuos pikadon, and Shavuos edus have in common that is not by Shavuos bitoy, which makes it more logical to compare Shavuos pikadon to Shavuos edus. What are they? Chet, it says chet by both of them. That's one. The mezid, that by both Shavuos edus and Shavuos hapikadon, if you violate them intentionally, you would have to bring a korban, as opposed to Shavuos bitoy. If you say, swear you're going to do something, not do something intentionally, falsely, you would get makos. Next one is, third one, comparison is tviya v'kafre, that there's a claim and a denial. By Shavuos bitoy, there's no claim and denial. It's just you saying, I will do something, I won't do something. Then you accidentally or purposely don't do it. But by pikadon, there's a claim, says, where's my deposit? Where's my loan? And by edus, come testify for me. And he denies it. I don't have your deposit. I don't have witness. I don't have testimony for you. And the last one is va'avre. They're regarding the past. Shavuos ha'edus, someone says, testify that you had seen in the past something that I want you to testify for. It's about something that happened in the past. Come testify for me now about the past. And Shavuos hapikadon is, I deposited with you in the past. I gave you a loan in the past, etc. It's all about the past. But Shavuos bitoy is primarily about the future. You can also take an oath about the past. Remember, I did not eat, I did eat. But if you see Rashi, the Avre, edus upikadon shtehem ashvuos l'sha'avar. You're taking oaths about what happened in the past. Aval bitoy ikara lahaba. The primary Shavuos bitoy that's mentioned in the pasuk, it says la ro letev, is about the future. Take an oath that you will or you won't do something about the future. The rabbis derive, Chazal derive, it also refers to Shavuos about the past. At least according to Rabbi Akiva, not according to Rabbi Shmuel. See in Tosfos in a moment. But yeah, so it's primarily about the future. So the fact that it's about the past makes it more likely. So there's comparisons between Pikadon, Shavuos Pikadon, Shavuos Eidos that makes them more likely. Compare one another. Okay, that's why says Rabbi Eliezer would compare Shavuos Eidos, Shavuos Pikadon, just like Shavuos Pikadon is only when there's tfias mamon, a claim of money. So too, Shavuos Eidos is also only when there's a claim of money, a tfias mamon. Okay. We just said Rashi said that of Avre, that Shavuos Hapikadon, Shavuos Bitoy rather, I will do something, I won't do something, is primarily about the future. That's what the pasuk's talking about. La ro letev. But about the past, that's secondary. So it doesn't really relate to things in the past. If you look at Tosfos, the second Tosfos, Hakak Garsinan, this the lo Garsinan va'avre. Some don't have the word avre, but we need 5. We were going to need 5. Mishum the Shavuos bitoy isa nami l'shavar Rabbi Akiva. Why? Because according to Rabbi Akiva, as we learned previously, several places, Chafei quotes here, that Rabbi Akiva holds that even a Shavuos shavar is chayav Shavuos bitoy. I did not eat. I did eat in the past. That's also chayav for according to Rabbi Akiva. According to Shmuel, no, as we learned. But he says lo nehira. You have to include this girsa, says Tosfos, including the avrei, but that passed. In kain tfiya v'chapira trei mili nidhu. Then we're going to run into problems because we need five. You're going to see soon on this stuff, and more clearly on the next amud, the next amud, the next amud. We need the five. We need five. So Tosfos says keep the girsa as is to make it much more clear. Anyway, so let's go back to the Gemara. So we are, I have to count the lines now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. 19 lines down. Okay, that helps. The last word on the line is Adarabba, and I see I need to scroll down here too on the screen. Yeah, I'll just highlight where we are. Adarabba. Adarabba. Just the opposite. Pumfakiat. No, there's the comparison, really, the Gemara says, from Shuas Bitoy, I will do something, I won't do something, to Shuas Eidos is much more, is more clear. Why? Havle Lamelach, should have learned that. Shekain has numerous comparisons. Chatos says both of them, Shuas Bitoy and Shuas Eidos, bring a korban chatos. That's the korban you bring, not a asham. Shiyarda, the korban you bring is a olav yore type chatos, type of sin offering. Lechomesh, and neither of them bring a chomesh. Neither Shuas Bitoy or Shuas Eidos would make you chayav for a chomesh, as opposed to Pikadon, which if you accidentally swear you don't have somebody's property and then you're holding onto somebody's whatever, his loan or his object or whatever it is, and you realize you do, you have to pay back the money and an additional fine, presumably a fine of a chomesh, of a one-fifth additional, plus you have to bring an asham gazelos. So we have four things. Chatas, shirada, is that 3 or 4? In chatas, shirada, l'chomesh. Oh, that's 3, okay. Hanach nefishin. He says no. So the answer is no. Yeah, there are comparisons between Shuas Bitoy and Shuas Eidos, but there are more comparisons between Shuas Abikadon and Shuas Eidos. So therefore, it's more logical, in Rabbi Eliezer's line of thinking, it's more logical that to compare Shuas Eidos to Shuas Bikadon, and therefore, just like Bikadon is only, Shuas Bikadon only applies in the case where there's Tfias Mommy, a claim of money. So to Shuas Eidos, when you want witnesses to come testify on your behalf, only applies when there's a Tfias Mammon, only when there's a claim of money involved, and only then when the Adam, the witnesses are swearing falsely, that they do in fact have testimony for you, they would be liable to bring a korban. Okay, that's Rabbi Eliezer's reasoning. Now we're up to Rabbi Akiva. So let me just highlight it, Rabbi Akiva. Just highlight. Drink also. Okay, lost power. Let me see, maybe I can plug him in. I do have a charger. I think I have enough juice on my computer. Maybe I can turn off this light, but I don't want to do that. Okay. So we're 1 moment for a technical break. I'm just going to take to see if I have a charger. You with me? I do have a charger. See if we can get Baruch back with us. Okay. Hope my computer works on, not the charger. Okay. So now we're going to try to explain Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva had a very simple drush from a pasuk. Okay, it's also a little complicated the way it charges. Maybe I'll move this a little bit closer. Okay. Okay. While I'm getting Baruch back on, let's explain the Gemara. Move my computer over. Okay, so the Gemara said the following. A drush from Rabbi Akiva. And the drush from Rabbi Akiva was another drush to prove that Shavuos Eidos only applies when there's Tfias Mammon. That witnesses who testify, who deny that they have testimony in your behalf, and then they're proven false. They only bring a korban in a case where there's a Tfias Mammon, a claim for money. How does Rabbi Akiva prove that? Let me just. Hello, Baruch. Hello. Sorry, trying to get Baruch back. Hello, Baruch? Okay. Well, we're on. In any case. Okay. Here we are. Okay. So now we're going to go into Rabbi Kiva. Rabbi Kiva, so two dots right there in the middle. Um, Rabbi Kiva Omer v'haya ki ya'ashem lachas me'ela. When you are guilty from one of these, talking by Shavuos Eidos, when you're guilty me'ela, lachas me'ela, from these. Sounds like not everything would make you guilty to bring a korban by Shavuos Eidos. And the Gemara derives, Rabbi Kiva derives, yesh me'ela shu chayav, yesh me'ela shu pater. There are cases when you're chayav to bring a korban by Shavuos Eidos, and there are times you're pater from bringing a korban by Shavuos Eidos. Okay, Sad. How is that? How does that work? Tavu mamon chayav. Tavu davar acher pater. When there's a claim of money involved, then you're chayav. Bring a korban by Shavuos Eidos. When it's davar acher, something other than money, you would be pater. You would not be chayav to bring a korban by Shavuos Eidos. That's Rabbi Akiva. The Gemara asks, Epochana. Well, we should say just the opposite, Rabbi. Should be the opposite. Doesn't the pasuk just said there's something that you're chayav for and something you're not chayav for? It didn't really clear. There's no reason to say why yes by mammon, not by other things. It could be the opposite. Epochana. Maybe by mammon is a tvias mammon case and you're pater from a korban. Everything else you'll be chayav. How do you know it's going the other way? Okay, so we said Rabbi Kiva. Gemara says Rabbi Kiva Owen Rabbi the other Samach. It's right. He derives from the pasuk that some things are and some things aren't, and it's referring to mammon as the things that a tvias mammon, a monetary claim, is what you are chayav for by Shavuos Eidos. How do we know it's that Shavuos Eidos? It's not the other way around. It's specifically money, because that tvias mammon makes you chayav for a korban. But for that, he relies on Rabbi Eliezer's derivation from the O's. That yes, only a korban would you be chayav for when it involves money. That's he's relying partially on Rabbi Eliezer to prove that. So the Gemara then asked, then if he's relying on Rabbi Eliezer, what's the difference between the two? They're essentially using the same drasha. Why do they have different opinions? My binayu, bein Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Akiva. What's the distinction between Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Akiva? So, ikibinayu mashbia ede karka. Hold on to this. You may be asking a question. When we hit the end, it'll be clear. Mashbia ede karka. Rabbi Eliezer chayavin, Rabbi Akiva paturin. According to Rabbi, if they're claiming a claim and they want witnesses to come on his behalf regarding land, so Rabbi Eliezer said they're chayav for that shua. They have to come for that shua, and they would be liable for that shua. According to Rabbi Akiva, they'd be pater because Rabbi Akiva holds only something that involves strictly money, like mammon. Anything else than strict money, which karka is not, which land is not, they would not be chayav for shua. Then Ulu Rabbi Yochanan, according to Rabbi Yochanan, the Amar Hasan, Mashpia Ede Karka, Filu Rabbi Kiva, Filu Rabbi Eliezer Paturin. According to Rabbi Yochanan, who he paskin like, that even in a case when the witnesses want you to come swear on behalf of for a case of karka, like he says, witnesses come swear on my behalf, come take an oath on my behalf, rather take an oath on my behalf that regarding this karka and this land. And they deny that they have testimony falsely, they're pater, according to everyone. We discussed the concept of swearing and land before. So, hacha ma'ikabin Rabbi Akiva, Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Akiva. What's the difference between Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Akiva? Yikabinayo ede knas. The distinction between them is ede knas. Regarding knas, if there's a fine, if you want the witnesses to come testify on your behalf that somebody owes you a knas, a fine, so according to Rabbi Eliezer, those are good witnesses. That's a good case. If they deny it and that they have testimony and they in fact do, then they are liable for a korban. According to Rabbi Akiva, only mammon, strict mammon, brings the witnesses to bring a korban. If they deny a knas, and in fact they do have testimony to that regard that somebody owes knas to him, they deny that they have testimony when they do in fact no testimony, they would not be liable to a korban. They're pater because according to Rabbi Akiva, only strict mammon, as opposed to knas, as opposed to karka, as opposed to land, would make you bring a korban. That's the distinction from Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Akiva, even though essentially they hold similar things. Okay. Moving on. Okay. So now we are a little more than halfway down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23rd to last narrow line. I'll highlight it on the screen. Yossi Aglili, Omer. Okay. Rabbi Yossi Aglili, Omer. Okay, so now we're going to Rabbi Yossi Aglili. We're going to analyze his opinion. Okay, Baruch's not on the phone with us. I guess we'll just put I'm just going to put my computer back in to make sure that doesn't go out on us. Okay, very complex technological day. It's over here, doesn't call it calls back. Okay, Rabbi Yossi Aglili, Omer. How did Rabbi Yossi Aglili learn that Shavuos Eidos, when witnesses, you want witnesses to come testify on your behalf, that somebody to testify for you, they're only chayav or korban, they deny it, and they're proven false, when they in fact do know testimony, if it involves money. How does there's a tfias mama, there's a claim of money. How does Rabbi Yossi Aglili know that? Rabbi Yossi Aglili Omer v'hu eid ora o yada. He says, as he said before, hura o eid, but he is a witness and he saw or he knew it. Be'edes hamiskayemes b'riya below yediya, b'diya lo riya, akasim medaber. That the pasuk is talking about a case of Shavuos Eidos is talking about a case where the witnesses know or they see or they know, but not both. And when does that apply? When do you have such testimony? Only by mammon, only by a monetary case, as we will explain. Only by a case when of money could you have such a case where witnesses see or know, knowing without seeing, seeing without knowing. We'll discuss this further as we go. So Amalei Rav Papa la Abaye. Papa said to Abaye, Papa said to Abaye, Lema Rabbi Yossi Aglili lest leid Ravacha. It seems like, let's say that Rabbi Yossi Aglili does not hold of what Ravacha said. The Tanya Rabbi Acha said in the Brisa, Ravacha Omer, Gam al ha'ocher ben agmalim, a camel that is kicking, that's lashing out with its legs. V'nimtza gam al horeg b'tzido, and you find a dead camel laying down on the side. Yadua shezeh hargo. You know that that's the camel that killed it. This camel is going, flailing with its legs, kicking wildly at a gun. Yes, a smoking gun. We're going to see a knife dripping blood. Grotesque. Sorry, but that's the case in the Gemara coming up. Yeah, it's a smoking gun. It's got a gun in his hand, as Tzitzik pointed out. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Direct line to the. Yeah, so it's we're going to discuss this in a moment in Tosas, concept of circumstantial evidence, umdana. But according to Rav Acha, that's good. That's good enough testimony. If you see there's a camel kicking wildly at other camels around it in a very strong way, and you see a camel with dead on the side there that had his head kicked in, and it doesn't say that, but something like that. And it's a Yibiyadua that says Rav Acha, that's you can testify to that amount that happened. That's good enough testimony. We're not taking to the full extent to what extent you could mechayev the person. We're just saying that's good testimony for now. And but that's a case what we call by killing. We're going to extend it to killing a person, but so we see Rav Acha's. Huh? Yeah, it's strange. It's going to get stranger in a moment. Hold on. Unusual, I think. Yeah. Right. So Rabbi Yossi clearly says that the only kind you could have a case where you see or know, but you don't only see something as a witness, or know something. You don't do both, but only be by monetary case. But here we see Rav Acha says, here's a case where you didn't see it. You didn't see the animal kill. You just know it. It's pretty obvious. It's a smoking gun. It's an umdana, as you'll see, circumstantial. But it seems to be the case. Rav Acha says even by retzicha, by other things than money. We'll see in a moment. Okay. Because if Rabbi Yossi would hold like Rabbi Acha when it comes to nefashos, nami mishkachas la, we would also find the case where you can have knowing or seeing, but not both, by nefashos, by life and death. We'll see by nefticha, not only just animal case, but also we'll see by people. Kireb Shimon ben Shatach, like the case of Shimon ben Shatach. Famous, not famous, but somewhat famous case of Shimon ben Shatach. It says the following: the Tanya, we learn the Brisa. Amr of Shimon ben Shatach, Arab ben Nechama. It's like a lashon of a shua, the low Arab Nechama. It's like curse. He says the following: Im lo reisi echad sharas achar chavero lechorva. I saw somebody chase after his friend. I don't know how. Maybe at one point they were friends, but yeah, yeah. Lechorva, chase after friend lechorva to a broken down building, broken down old building. Um, Ratzitzi Ratzti Acharab. There's a broken down old building. If there was like 30 years ago when I was yeshiva, Yerushalayim. It was on Shamgar or something. And whenever I passed it, I thought these Gemaras about churvas, but churva, yeah. Anyway, so he says somebody, Rabbi Shimon Shadach saw someone running after his friend to a broken down building. Ratzti Acharab, and I ran in after him. Matzasi Sayef biyado. I saw a sword in his hand. V'dam mitaftef. V'harag mefarfer. I saw the blood dripping, and his body was flailing. And with a knife in his hand, it's a blood dripping. Pretty clear. Amarti lo Russia. Shimon Shetak said to this guy with the sword in his hand, said, "Russia, evil person. Mi harga lazeh. Who killed him? Oh, ani o ata. Either me or you." It wasn't him, right? It wasn't Rav Shimon Shetak. He's saying it was you. Aval ma asa. What could I do? She'ein damcha moser b'yadi. Your life, your blood is not given over into my hands. Shari Emra Torah. Torah says in the pasuk in Dvarim, Al pishnayim edim o shlosh adam yumas ha'emes. Person can only be put to death for killing, etc., through the testimony of 2, 3, or more witnesses. Ella amakom yifra mimcha. Hashem should pay you back. Should take from you. Should settle the score. We'd say. Amru, they said, Lo zazu misham, this fellow with the sword did not budge from there, until a presumably a poisonous snake came and bit him and he died. There you go. Don't start off with Shimon Shetach. That's very interesting stories about Shimon Shetach in the Gemara. It was Yanai Melech's brother-in-law. Very, very interesting. Shimon Shetach, very important person in Klal Yisrael. It's very important figure, very important Tanya, but also very interesting stories. But anyway, there's a point to this story. Not that that's also very interesting, but there's a point, and the point is that we see a case here, circumstantial, by Ritzicha, by case of life and death, by Dinei Nefashos, and yet Rav Shimon Shetach said that the circumstantial evidence is not enough. That the seeing is rather knowing without seeing. He knew that this guy killed him, but didn't see him kill him. That's the problem. So, but Rabbi is opposed to Rabbi Yacha. Rabbi Yacha says, no, like by the camel, you didn't have to see the camel kill the other camel, you just have to know it. He knew, obviously, the other camel killed it. So Rabbi Yosef Glili doesn't hold like Rabbi Yacha. He holds only by mammon is seeing or knowing enough. Not just, you have to, by nefashos, you have to see it and know it, both. So that's what we're saying. The point is that Rabbi Yosef Glili holds that the case of Shavuos Eidos, taking a step back, is only in a case where either you know as a witness or you see. It doesn't have to be both. One is only by monetary cases, by mamon, says Rabbi Yossi Leib. So therefore we see Shavuos Eidos only by a tvias mamon, by a case of monetary. But here it doesn't seem like that. So it seems like he doesn't hold, like Rabbi Yossi Leib does not hold like Rav Acha. Rav Acha holds, you could just know without seeing, that's enough for cases other than monetary, even by nefashos, even by life and death cases. So the Gemara makes a comment. So we're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 lines from the bottom. Got to highlight a bit here. 7 lines start from the bottom. 7 lines from the last, 7th to last narrow line. That's the correct way for me to say it. Sorry. That's lovely to have. We need rain because, right? In America, they say rain, rain, go away, don't come back another day. That's the children's song. But one of my kids had a Torah tape, one of those maybe Shmuel Kunda, I don't remember what. The line was, rain, rain, you're good for grain, you won't hear me complain. Rain, rain, you're good for rain, you won't hear me complain. Yeah. It's a different outlook, understanding that rain is a bracha from Hashem, even as my feet are extremely very cold. But yes, you don't have to walk in the rain, right? Okay. So okay, so we're one, two, three, four, five, six, seventh to last narrow line. Afilu tema. No, the Gemara says afilu tema islay Rabbi Acha. Even if you'll say that um, that Rabbi Yosef agrees to Rabbi Acha and holds technically that just seeing, rather just knowing, um, maybe or saying maybe enough. Bishlama yadia below he would hold maybe Rabbi Yosef can hold like Rabbi Acha partially, and say that by nefashos, by life and death cases, by case of reticha, etc., that partial witness that yadia below might be enough. Just knowing might be enough. He could hold that, and in this case, he would also agree that by like Rabbi Acha, just seeing the camel kick, or someone in the Schorva who got killed, just knowing would be enough. We find the case, like we said. You can come up with a case of a witness that could see, that rather could know, like Rav Shimon Meshetach's case, or the case of the camel, you would know without seeing. Ella riyah below yediyah, but seeing without knowing, how could that be a testimony? Milo boy meda. Don't you need to know if the person who was just stabbed, he was killed, was a Ovid Chacham Yisrael? Was he a non-Jew or Jew? Harag, harag im adam treifa harag. Oh, sorry, let me read that again. Milo boy meda im ovid kochavim harag. O Yisrael harag. Did he kill a non-Jew or Jew? Im adam treifa harag o shalom harag. Did he kill someone who's a treifa? Who was going to die anyway soon, or was it somebody who is in good health? And those make a very important difference in terms of the case. So he says that even if you hold like Ravacha, that it's enough to just know, like the case of the camel, that may enough. But just seeing isn't enough. But seeing, you also have to know facts. So what does that mean? He says he could hold like Rabbi Yacha in that sense. By knowing is enough. But we don't have a case where you know just alone or see just alone as enough of a testimony to work, because that only applies by mammon. By nefashos, we can't come up with a case where just seeing is enough. You have to know other facts by life and death. You have to know who you killed, right? Who was killed in the case. So, in any case, we see there Yossi holds that because you can only conceptualize a case of edus with just knowing, just idea, or just riyah, only by monetary, not by nefashos, by life and death. So by life matters. So therefore, when the pasuk says "O diada O ra," by Yeshua edus, the witness saw or heard either of them, but not both, must be talking by mammon. So according to Yossi, Shuas edus is only by fias mammon, only applies when it errs a claim of money. Okay, so now we are the second to last narrow line. Mamina. Mamina. I'll just refill my tea here. Oh, it's quite a rain out there. Oh, yeah, you can hear it on the polypach. Yeah. Sounds like a million ping pong balls falling out. They made it work, but well, yeah. Yeah, the ground shifts also. Pretty good. A little water coming in. Okay. I'm sorry. Okay. Uh-huh. Yeah. These guys. Okay. Okay. Here we go. Second to last narrow line, right in the middle. Shema Minah. From this we hear Kasar Rabbi Yossi Haglili. Rabbi Yossi Haglili holds Mashbia Ede Knas Potter. Rav Yossi Aglili holds that a person wants to get witnesses to come swear, to give testimony on his behalf, and they swear they don't have testimony by kanas, by a fine. They come testify on my behalf that so and so owes me a fine. They take an oath. They don't have testimony. And they're proven false. They don't have a korban. Why? Because what does Rabbi Yossi holds? He holds the only time you're chayev by Shavuos Eidos is when the case could be idea without riyah or riyah without idea, that knowing without seeing or seeing without knowing. It has to be that. But by knas, we don't have that. Why? As Rashi says, let me just take Rashi first. Rabbi Yossi Aglili, last Rashi, Milsa be'avei nafshahi, Pachi Kamar. V'dekama Rabbi Yossi Aglili, Ein Shavuos Eidos El be'edus miskemas be'idiyah b'lariyah. Because Rabbi Yossi Aglili holds that Shavuos Eidos only works by when it's possible to see or not to see the edus alone or to know the edus alone. V'yiblo idiyah, Shma mina desfir le'mashpia edei knas, the onus mafaton v'kafra p'turin. So he holds that what knas, let's say we're talking about a case of onus mafata. Somebody, he rapes a woman or convinces her, this young woman, to have intercourse with him. So he would owe the father 50 shekel. That's the knas we're talking about. So in that case, says Rabbi Yossi, last narrow line, chayav, if you say that you're chayav by Shavuos, by kanas, for Shavuos Eidos, you'll find the case where he knows that circumstantial evidence to show that he that there was a case of onus mafata here. The below re'ir ashkan chayav nehida idea below re'ir ashkan la below idea mi lo boy meda. Don't you need to know if you just see it? Nachris bal bas Yisrael bal. Who did he have intercourse with? Was he have bia with? Was it with a non-Jewish woman or a Jewish woman? Basula bal, beula bal. That's not if it was a basula or a bula, someone a virgin or non-virgin. He has to know the circumstances. It's not enough to just see it. So since by ones mafata, by a case where of rape, or he or convinces this one woman to be with him, have intercourse with him, it has to be the witness can't just know it. Circumstantial. It has to. If he just sees it, that would be enough. He just knows it. But if he just sees it, he has to have other facts to be able to testify. So therefore, having witnesses in this case of onus mafata come on your behalf and they deny that they have testimony and they're proven false, would not, according to Rabbi Yossi Aglili, bring you to bring a korban, because there's because it can't be a case of idea or just riyah. You can't have a case of just riyah because you need additional facts for it to work. That's the case. Just briefly, before we just cover the last line, the Tosfos, third Tosfos talks about, he says, Mashma hachad Rabbi Acha islay umdana b'dinin nefashos. He says, Rabbi Acha holds that even in a case of life and death, case of Rotzeach, just seeing the dripping knife or the camel kicking and then a dead camel outside, that's an umdana. So it's like circumstantial evidence. It doesn't prove it. That's not a perfect translation. It's like all and yeah. It's that all the circumstance seems to indicate that. That's what the word we're trying to say. It's pretty clear case that's umna. So Tos discusses the whole discussion between Tos and the Rambam. Umna. There's a case where circumstantial evidence seems to say even by nefashos, even by a case of murder, would seem to be enough, according to Rabbi Acha. The Rambam and Tosfos talk about umdan muchach. It has to be, not like it's like 90%. It's like 99.99999. Like there's no other way it could be. Is that in that case is circumstantial evidence good enough? But let's go to the last line. So a few more minutes. Here we are. Second to last line, fourth to last word, Yosef. Rav Hamnuna Kamed Rav Yehuda. Yosef Rav Hamnuna Kamed Rav Yehuda. Hamnuna was sitting in front of Rav Yehuda. Yosef Rav Yehuda would come by. Rav Yehuda was sitting and asking the following: Mana minisa. I'm sorry. Where? Mana minisicha ifnei ploni uploni. I counted out money in front of these two witnesses. The Aiden, that's not okay. Rowan saw me b'chutz. Him saw outside. My What's the case? Is that enough? Again, this is kind of a circumstantial case. Is that sufficient to make them give testimony? So we'll hold this here, and we'll pick this up, God willing, on Sunday morning. Yeah, okay. So, Mr. Hashem, thank you for joining us. Everyone should have a good Chodesh Tov, Hanukkah, happy Hanukkah, Hanukkah Sameach, and enjoy a little time off with the family. We'll pick it up again on Sunday. Okay.